This episode of Amateur Traveler is sponsored by Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, and by Prismatext, that makes learning a language as easy as reading a book. Amateur Traveler, episode 858. Today, the Amateur Traveler talks about castles and cormorants, sightseeing trains and shogun, sword makers, and samurai as we go to Hikone and Gifu in central Japan. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler. Let's talk about central Japan. I would like to welcome to the show Miyuki Seguchi from the Japan Experts podcast at miyukiseguchi.com. And she has come to talk to us about the region of Japan of Gifu and Hikone. Miyuki, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be...
Did I get that pronunciation anywhere close of any of that?
Everything was perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. Excellent. First of all, where are we talking about when we say Gifu and Hikone?
Yes, the Gifu is part of the Chubu region. So Chubu literally means a central part. So as you can imagine, it's located in right center of Japan. So basically, we have Tokyo in the east and Kyoto and Osaka in the west. So what's between them is the Chubu region, or the central part of Japan.
Okay, got it. And what is your connection to that region?
I live in the southwestern part of Gifu Prefecture, which is part of the Chubu, or the central region of Japan. And I'm originally from Japan, in fact, not too far from where I currently live. But I've also spent some time in the UK and Tokyo, but now I live in the center of Japan, which covers Gifu. And technically speaking, Hikone is part of the Kansai region, but it's also pretty close to Gifu, so I do provide private tours there as well.
Excellent. You are a tour guide. That's the other thing that we should say. You say private tours. You don't just do that for fun. No. Excellent. And why should we go to Gifu and Hikone?
Yes, great question. A lot of travelers from North America or the West, when they travel to Japan, they will stay in Japan for 2 to 3 weeks. And they usually travel from the eastern part of Japan to western part of Japan or vice versa. But most of them do not stop off at the central region, especially the southern part of Gifu to the eastern part of Shiga. So this part of Japan is simply not as well known as major tourist destinations, but there are a lot of us visiting places, and these places are usually less busy and easy to access by public transport. If you want to explore some unique local areas with hidden gems that give you a great idea on authentic local life, I'm sure you'd love places I will introduce today.
Excellent. And where are we going to go? What itinerary are you going to recommend for us?
Yes, so I would recommend 2 days in Hikone, 1 day in Sekigahara, 2 days in Gifu City, and 2 days in the outskirts of Gifu City along the Nagaragawa River. Okay.
Where are we going to start then? You started us in...
So I'd love to start with Hikone, the city of Hikone, which is mostly...
So we're starting further south and east from Gifu. So if we were coming from Kyoto to Tokyo, we'd come to Hikone first.
Yes, probably that would be the easiest location for listeners to think of also.
And I know that some travelers, if you've got the rail pass, might get off at Hikone even without your prompting, because I did, as you pointed out to me. And we'll talk about what got me off the rail, but what should we see in Hikone?
Yes, so the Hikone is mostly known for the Hikone Castle, of Japan's 5 national treasure castles that remain intact from the samurai era, or more than 400 years ago. This is one of the major attractions in the area. But I know you've covered a lot of Japanese castles on this podcast also. So
Well, we didn't cover a lot because there aren't that many left, but we've covered a number of the ones that are left, yes.
Yes, and I would think probably like most of your listeners would think that what's the difference? I would like to give a bit of information about the Hikone Castle also. One of the reasons why I recommend Hikone to to anyone who would like to experience authentic Japanese castle is that the Hikone Castle tell a lot of great stories from the battle times, both the battle times and the peaceful times of the samurai period. For example, there are a number of defensive features that are reflected in both the interior and exterior of the castle buildings. And indeed, the battle they had in mind was the one against Toyotomi, which was in Osaka. So that's why the castle is rectangular shape and the front is facing Osaka. So also, despite the size, the main tower has lots of decorative roofs that helps the castle look magnificent. This was to make the enemy give up before fighting. And as a result, Japan achieved a 250 years of peace with virtually no war.
You mentioned that it was built to protect against the ruler in Osaka.
Yes.
There is also a castle in Osaka, but that is a reconstruction.
Correct.
Anytime you can go into a Japanese castle and take the elevator up, you know that you are not an original castle. That should be a big clue, but it's also not even made of the original materials. No. One of the reasons why there are so few remaining is this is a wooden castle. And so people who are picturing a Norman castle from somewhere in England or France are not picturing the same thing. And you said despite its size, not very big as castles go.
No, not the one of the biggest ones that many people would imagine for Osaka or Nagoya, for example.
Right.
But
when I say not very big, just even Japanese castles versus European castles, we're talking about something that a single family could live in and not have all that much space.
Yes, but maybe I should add the one note to that. So the castle that many people may imagine is for the main tower or the main house.
The main tower, exactly.
Yes, the main tower isn't that big, but the castle grounds. It's not the castle is not
it was
only
more
the
than
main
just the
tower.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a massive space if you could think about all these other buildings on site.
Excellent. And we said there was something that got me off the Shinkansen and up the hill to the castle. And obviously, that was it. I looked out the window and said, "What's that?" and literally just walked up the hill to go see.
Oh, wow.
The advantage of having a Japan rail pass, right? You can always get back on another train.
Have you been to any other places apart from the main tower?
Well, whatever you went to on the way up the hill. No, literally.
Okay, because apart from the main tower, the museum is also something you don't want to miss. Have you been?
I don't remember if I was in the museum or not at this point.
Because it exhibits the great collections of arts and crafts and armors and Japanese swords, as well as the musical instruments or the other items that were used for tea ceremonies or the non-theatrical performances, both of which were fundamental parts of building bonds among samurai or high-class people. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the purpose of the tea ceremony, is to build bonds.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. One of the reasons why the Yi family, the feudal lord who ruled the Hikone domain, was able to maintain these items was that the Yi family ruled the domain for the entire time of the Edo period, or the 260 years, which is actually, as a feudal lord, Yi family was amongst the most senior ranks in the Edo government, so they were asked to stay in the same domain land, but it doesn't always happen to other feudal lords, which was the reasons why the family was able to keep all these items until nowadays. So,
and you say the Edo period, so that would be early 1600, 1603 till mid 1800s, just after the U.S. Civil War, 1867, and so that's when the emperor is emperor in name only, and basically the country's being ruled by a shogun.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And that's also when the capital moves from Kyoto up to Tokyo, or Edo, as it used to be.
Yes, basically the capital is the place where emperor lives.
Okay.
During the Edo period, the emperor was still living in Kyoto. Technically speaking, the capital was still in Kyoto, but all the political center was moved to Edo, which is currently named as Tokyo. Yes.
Excellent. And if you're in Tokyo and you want to learn more about that period, I recommend the Edo Museum in Tokyo. But we're not talking about Tokyo today.
Which is a great museum, which I really like. But I think it's currently under renovation or something.
Oh, is it? Okay, did not know.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what else are we going to see in Hikone besides the beautiful castle?
There is a beautiful garden attached to the castle. And that's also the one area that I would recommend going. In there, you'd find tea houses where you can get to try a proper matcha tea with a Japanese sweet also. And it's a good experience. Sit inside the building and to see the garden in front of it.
Okay.
Some of other experiences I'd like to recommend is a boat ride on a moat around the castle. Yeah, it's something many people miss, but actually that's one of my favorite activities in the Hikone. And the castle is surrounded by moat, and you can take a 45-minute boat cruise. And the boats are in original design from the old times, so the sailing is low. So you need to crawl into the boat, which is exactly how feudal lords and their family members did when riding on a boat. So you'll see the castle from different angles, and it's particularly beautiful during the cherry blossom season.
Okay, which is April-ish?
Yes, from the end of March through the early April.
Okay.
Yes, and if you have more time in Hikone, and if you'd like to try a bit of a different experience, there is also the opportunity to take a boat ride to Lake Biwa, which is Japan's biggest lake. And there is a sacred island called Chikubu Island in the northern part of the Lake Biwa. You can take a 40-minute boat ride to the island and explore the island for just over an hour until the same boat returns to Hikone. On this island, you'll find a shrine and a temple that can tell you how both Shinto and Buddhism have been practiced together since the ancient times in Japan. A lot of local people get on board to pay respect to the deities, and the boat itself is a fun experience. So if you are going to stay in Hikone, a visit to Chikubu Island is a nice addition to your itinerary.
Okay. Excellent. Anything else we want to do in Hikone?
If you want to grab lunch, the one thing I would recommend is Omi beef, which is one of Japan's top 3 brand Wagyu beef, along with Kobe and Matsuzaka beef. So there are different ways of eating high-quality Wagyu beef. One way is hot pot dishes like sukiyaki and in a sukiyaki hot pot, meat will be cooked with vegetables, tofu, and some other ingredients. And we traditionally eat these ingredients with raw egg. For shabu-shabu, you have boiled hot water or sometimes dashi soup. So what you do is pick sliced meat with chopsticks and move it around in the soup, which we call in Japanese, and dip it in the sauce. There are also steak and sushi if you'd like to try Omi beef in that style as well.
Okay. This episode of Amateur Traveler is sponsored by Factor. It's summertime and you may have more important or more fun things than spend time in the kitchen, but you don't want to give up nutrition and you don't want to give up flavor, and that's where Factor can come in. Ready to feel your best while making the most out of your summer adventures? Stick to your wellness goals with premium, ready-to-eat meals featuring high-quality ingredients such as broccolini, leeks, and asparagus. Treat yourself to 34 or more weekly restaurant-quality options like bruschetta shrimp risotto, green goddess chicken, and grilled steakhouse filet mignon, ready in just 2 minutes. Whether you're looking for keto or vegan or veggie or protein plus, there are options on the menu each week to fit your lifestyle. This July, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy the fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes, no prep and no mess. Head to factormeals.com/travel50 and use code TRAVEL50 to get 50% off. That's code TRAVEL50 at factormeals.com/traveler50 and get 50% off. And thanks to Factor for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Usually, Hikone is considered as a day trip destination because it's close to Kyoto or other places in the area. But if you'd like to stay in Hikone, the closest to the castle is Hikone Castle Resort and Spa. And you can see the castle from their rooms or public bath facilities or terrace space. So this will be the unique experience. There are the couple of other business hotels as well as some guest houses in the area also. If you want to find accommodation in Hikone, it's totally possible and stay one night in Hikone and visit the castle and another day to visit the Chikubu Island. That's I think, a good itinerary.
Okay. And then is it time to move on to Gifu?
If you'd like to stop off on one place before moving to the Gifu city, the one place I'd recommend is the town called Sekigahara. Have you heard of the name before?
I see it on a map, but that's all I know about it.
Okay, so great. Okay, so the Sekigahara is the town. It's actually half an hour away from Hikone to the east by JR. Sekigahara is...
By Japan Rail.
Yes, JR
Okay.
Tokai. Yes, one of the JR Japan Rail companies. Yes.
Yep.
That operates lines in the central region.
Okay.
So Sekigahara is most known for the Battle of Sekigahara that completely changed the history of Japan, bringing the warring state period to a close that led to 260-year peace in the end. Battlefield Memorial Museum opened a few years ago in the town of Sekigahara. This is a state-of-the-art museum that will beat your expectation. So I'd recommend going there first. Inside, you would be watching a couple of digital content in the theater that will take you to the battlefield and walk you through every major moment in the battle. So this is a really interesting one to visit.
And is that content available multilingual? As those of us whose Japanese is, let's say, limited, is that something that I'm going to be able to get something out of?
Yes, there is an English subtitle on the screen.
Okay, excellent.
Yes. So what's unique about Sekigahara is that it's not a place focused on one specific samurai warrior or the castle. So Sekigahara is a place where major samurai warriors that lived around 1600 actually came together. So it does give you a chance to learn about different samurai warriors and their stories. What I personally liked about this site is that there are replicas of armors that these samurai warriors are said to wear in the battles, and you'll be surprised at how distinct each of them are. And if you want, there is a place you can try on the exact model of these replicas, which look very real. So it's a fun experience also.
Okay.
And my recommendation is to visit the museum first and learn all the stories, and later visit the actual sites in town where these samurai warriors had a base on and explore the town. Okay. And Sekigahara is a small town with rice fields. That's a great place to enjoy beautiful country landscapes as well. And when you are walking around the town, what you will notice will be a modern art sites and museums called Ningen Mura, which really stood out in this beautiful countryside landscape. And some of these objects are related to peace, while some others were created by internationally recognized contemporary artists, such as Ryu Fan, who also has a museum in Naoshima on Japan's famous art island. Sekigahara is definitely a great place to enjoy a walk in nature and learn about the history of feudal Japan. So all these places are within the walking distance from the Sekigahara station, or you can rent a bicycle if you'd like to visit some of the historical sites that are related to samurai warriors.
Okay. And you say rent a bicycle. Am I renting it with a bike rental app, or I'm finding a bike shop, or?
There is the shop in the town of Sekigahara. Yeah. You can easily find these spots in town.
Okay.
Great.
Where to next?
Moving further west on the JR Tokaido line, you will reach Gifu, which is about half an hour away from Sekigahara. So Gifu is the biggest city of Gifu Prefecture, but it has also some great tourist attractions too. And one thing you don't want to miss when you are in Gifu is ukai cormorant fishing, which takes place from May through October. There are about a dozen places in Japan that have kept this tradition of cormorant fishing alive, and two of them are held in the Nagaragawa River, which runs through Gifu City.
Okay, and this is using trained birds to fish.
Correct. Nagaragawa ukai is particularly famous in Japan because of the following two reasons. First, ayu fish that's caught in Nagaragawa River are delivered to the emperor and the imperial family of Japan 8 times a year. So in fact, fishermen are given an honorary position by the Imperial Household Agency, and that law has to be handed down from generation to generation in the same family over the history of 1300 years.
Okay.
And secondly, the cormorants
So I can give up my dreams of becoming a cormorant fisherman, is what I'm hearing you say.
Correct.
Okay.
And only men can be given this position.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Secondly, the cormorants are living in a dedicated space that's situated at the house of each fisherman, which isn't always the case for other ukai places. So what that means is that they take care of cormorants every single day from when they wake up until they sleep at night, and train the cormorants since they are still young. So fishermen are building deep bonds with cormorants like a family member. And ukai cormorants are able to live 2 or 3 times longer than wild cormorants in nature. Yeah, there is a fisherman's village by the Nagaragawa River, so it's possible to see how fishermen are taking care of cormorants and to hear their stories directly. Just a good place to visit is Ukai Cormorant Fishing Museum, which I believe is the only one in Japan. So I recommend going there before actually visiting the ukai fishing at night, and this way you can get to know more about how ukai really works. And at night, it would be the best to stay at one of the Nagaragawa Onsen Ryokan. There are several ryokan and hotels along the river, and they can also arrange the ukai boat for you. So
in a ryokan, you're talking about a traditional inn where I'm sleeping on a tatami mat and a futon, and I'm taking my shoes off and all the usual traditional things.
Basically correct, but nowadays there are the Western style bedrooms also.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so there are a variety of options you can choose from. Yes. If you drive, you can eat dinner on boat, or you can eat dinner at ryokan before getting on boat if you'd like to try and watch the ukai performance at night.
So when you say the performance at night, so they're going out and fishing with the birds at night, there's some reason I should believe that I'm going to be able to see it. So there's fire or spotlights, or how am I seeing this?
Yes, there is a fire. Every boat has a fire.
Your boat has a fire. That's what I was seeing in the pictures. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And there are then organized tours, or am I just going down to the river, walking down to the river to see it?
There are more than a dozen boats every night, so you can get a ticket and get a seat on a boat.
Got it. Okay. Tour boat. Okay.
Yes. So if you are staying in the traditional inns, ryokan, there are mainly 2 things you don't want to miss. One is high quality multi dishes called kaiseki meal, kaiseki ryori. So
I don't know what that is.
If you'd like to try the local specialties, the best thing is to have a meal at ryokan, have a kaiseki meal at a ryokan, because usually they are cooked using what's best in the season or what's best in the area.
Got it. And a kaiseki is just a multi-course Japanese meal.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. I'm catching up.
The other things you may want to try at ryokan is a hot spring or what we call onsen in Japanese. And Nagaragawa Onsen is famous for terracotta-colored onsen with rich iron content, which helps your body warm to the core.
Okay.
If you
And that's the onsen is the same name as the river, Nagara?
Yes, correct. Nagara, basically Nagara River, the same meaning. Yes.
Your pronunciation of that and mine are quite different, is why I was asking.
Yes, yeah. I tried to say this word, sorry.
Nagaragawa onsen.
Yes, Nagaragawa. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Gawa means river in Japanese. So.
Okay. I did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Your Japanese is obviously better than mine, which isn't coming as a surprise to anyone.
So if you'd like to try the Ayu sweet fish that's caught by cormorants, you may want to try them at a ryokan because the cost of sweet fish that's caught by cormorant is 10 times higher than the cost of the farmed fish because they are more fresh.
And when you say sweet fish, is that because it's not a saltwater fish? Or is that a particular type of fish?
So sweet fish is a particular type of fish.
Okay.
Yes. Is it not so popular?
I've never heard the term before in my life.
Sweet fish is a river fish that's widely available in the rivers in Japan.
Got it. Okay.
And it's especially famous in the rivers in my region, such as Nagara River.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Where to next?
Yes. So the next day, you can enjoy the Kawaramachi district with traditional merchant houses, which was a city center at a time when boats was still the main transport method. This district has old-style houses, some of which are renovated and operated as a cafe, restaurant, and shop. So it's a nice area to walk around and explore. And Nagaragawa River is recognized as one of Japan's 3 cleanest rivers, which means water is clean and clear. So that's why it became famous for good river fish. It has also helped develop craft making, such as Japanese paper called washi.
And I don't know washi.
Washi is Japanese paper.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
To me, where I live, the making of paper tends to make rivers less clean. So we're talking about a more small scale hand process rather than big industry.
Correct. I should say washi is handmade paper.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah, compared to Western style paper, Japanese washi paper much more thinner, and yet it's much more stronger.
Okay.
That's the quality of the Japanese washi paper.
Got it.
Using washi, paper made lanterns, umbrellas, and fans called mizuchiwa in Japanese are made in Gifu City. And you can find a shop selling these items in the Kawaramachi district. If you want to grab lunch in the area, it's also a nice area to find a good lunch spot also.
Any place you would recommend? Have a favorite?
So my favorite place is Kawaramachi Ya. Inside it's modern, but there used to be a storage space, so you can get to see the traditional architecture from the inside and the outside. They have a casual food like curry, pizza, and omurice, as well as coffee and tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's down by the river is what I'm seeing.
Yes, so the district is
The whole
located...
district is down by the river, yeah.
Yes, correct, yeah. Right next to the river.
This episode of Amateur Traveler is sponsored by Prisma Text. You want to learn a foreign language because you know it will make your travel better, but it's too hard. Prisma Text gives you a different way to effortlessly learn a language. You read a story, you learn a language. When you go to prismatext.com, you can download a book and then choose how many of the words in the book are translated into the language you're trying to learn. So as you're reading, say, Agatha Christie, you get more and more Spanish words included in until you find yourself learning Spanish without even thinking about it. They have more than 400 different vocabulary words per book. And Prismatext has found that it's 50% more effective than traditional language acquisition methods. You can choose from one of 16 different languages. Want to learn French while reading biographies, or maybe German with your favorite sci-fi book? It's up to you. Instead of setting aside time to study a language, instead you can practice just by doing what you want to do, reading your favorite book. To learn more, visit prismatext.com and select from hundreds of titles to start learning a language from your favorite stories. To save 20% off your first order, you can use the code AMATEUR, AMATEUR. And thanks to Prismatext for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
After that, you can climb up to Mount Kinka. At the bottom of the mountain, there is a Gifu Park, which is a great place to enjoy nature and take some rest in the shades during hot summer days. And it's also a popular spot for cherry blossoms and autumn leaves. You could climb the mountain by walking. It's about an hour, but many people do take a cable car. And once you get off the cable car, you'd still need to walk for 15 minutes or so to reach the top of the mountain, where Gifu Castle is located. So what's really great about Gifu Castle is a 360-degree view from the top. The area around the castle is a flat land, so you can see mountains like the Japan Alps and high buildings in Nagoya, and of course you'll see the Nagaragawa River floating from the north to the south. The height is about the same as that of the Tokyo Tower, which is 333 meters. So it does give you a spectacular view from the top.
Interesting.
If we spend 2 days in Gifu, for the last 2 days, I'd like to suggest 2 cities that are located in the north of Gifu City.
Okay.
Both of these cities are accessible by the Nagaragawa Tetsudo line, which is a private company and trains in that specific area along the Nagara River.
Okay. And that means that my rail pass is not going to work there, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's a different experience you can get to try, so it's worth trying. From Gifu, you get to Mino Ota by JR and get on the Nagaragawa Tetsudo. They operate different trains, including sightseeing trains.
Okay.
Are you aware of sightseeing trains in Japan?
I have never taken a sightseeing train in Japan. I've done sightseeing from trains in Japan.
Okay. So what's great about sightseeing trains is that you can get to enjoy beautiful scenery along the Nagaragawa River. So as trains are slowing down a few best view spots.
Okay.
So it's great place to see the beautiful scenery that otherwise you wouldn't be able to see. And seats are also designed to enjoy the landscapes. And interior designs are special too, and they are often related to motifs associated with the local area.
Okay.
And it's possible to have a bento lunch with food cooked with local ingredients. In the case of Nagaragawa Tetsudo, one of the main food you'll get is a hida beef, as this is a local specialty of Gifu.
And sorry, what did you say, beef?
Yeah, hida beef. It's a beef that's grown in the area of Gifu.
Okay. Yeah.
If you get on the sightseeing trains, the ride will be 1 to 2 hours, depending on the type of trains and where you will be going. But if you are getting on a local train on the Nagaragawa Tetsudo line, you'll reach Seki City in about 20 minutes from Mino Ota. So Seki is a town of swords and knife making. And one experience you may want to try at the Seki is to watch a sword being made, as the skills have been handed down for multiple generations. It's just amazing to see how a few swordsmiths are working together to make a blade.
I didn't know it was a multi-person job to make a sword. Okay. So this is the traditional samurai swords that we're talking about here. The long one and the short one, I assume. The katana
Correct.
and the other one.
Yes, correct. But the
Whose name
braid,
escapes me.
braid itself, it's also the multi people the job. So a few people usually, 2 to 3 people usually work together to make a braid. But also after the braid is made, there are other craftsmen who make the handle of the
Oh,
sword.
okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Yes.
And you're recommending going to the Swordsmith Museum in Seki?
Yes, there are a few museums in Seki City
Got
that you
it.
can visit. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but also if you'd like to do a bit of experience, you could visit the swordsmith's house and try making a paper knife as well. It's not a sword, but kind of like paper knife that you could make by
Okay.
yourself. So the Seki is also known for good kitchen knives. There are shops around the city center where you can find the one you like from a selection of kitchen knives too.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. This is where my Ginsu knives are coming from then.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, so if you'd like to grab lunch, grilled eel is a specialty here.
Grilled eel is a specialty here. Okay.
Yes. It's a simple donburi dish, so you'll
Yep.
have a bowl of rice with grilled eel on top. There are several different places, but the one that's close to the station is called Magoroku, which is considered as one of the best in the area.
Okay.
Yes, so on the next day, I'd suggest going to Mino, which is about half an hour from Minooto or about an hour and a half from Gifu City.
Okay.
So Mino is one of Japan's 3 major washi producing areas, as washi making has been practiced for 1300 years. There is a town of washi artists near the upper stream of the Nagaragawa River because washi can only be made using clean water. In the city center, there is a shop called Washinari where you can find washi paper made in Mino as well as different types of papers made all over Japan. So inside is like a museum and the staff will help you find the one you like. There are stationery goods too, so it's a fun place to visit.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple of museums related to washi and paper-made lanterns in the city center as well, if you want to know more about Japanese papers. The town of Mino also has lots of old merchant houses, which were built during the time when washi making was booming. And these houses are still kept intact, so it's fun to walk around. And there is a hotel called Nipponia, whose building was an old merchant house. So you can get to stay at one of these merchant houses if you'd like. Inside, you'll find a Western style bed and a modern interior design with washi-made products. So it would be a good one to try if you'd like to stay in the area.
Okay.
Pretty much that's it.
Okay. That was the itinerary you promised. Okay. Anything else people need to know before they head to Gifu and this part of Japan? I don't know.
So it is actually the area people may not find on the usual travel guidebook. So it's much more less known and it's a countryside area. But definitely, like I mentioned, there are places to visit and you can visit these places by public transport easily. That's a great advantage of visiting the Chubu region, the central region of Japan.
I found that to be true in much of Japan, that getting around by public transport is pretty easy.
It is easy, but if you are visiting the countryside or rural areas, usually you need a car to move around. But this area, because it's in a very convenient location to the major cities, the public transport network is much more developed. And so it's possible to just travel by public transport.
I got it. As we start to wrap this up, you're standing in the prettiest spot in this region. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
I'd say I'm looking at the views from the top of the Gifu Castle in the evening
I
time.
thought you might be saying that. Okay. I was looking at those pictures, and it looked gorgeous from up there. Okay. In the evening, though.
Yes.
So am I up there for sunset, or I'm up there after?
After the sunset. The daytime
After the
is
sunset.
pretty, but the night views are even more special.
Excellent. One thing that makes you laugh and say only in Gifu. You've traveled a bit. You've gone home again. One thing that when you get home, you went, it now strikes you as funny, and it used to strike you as normal.
I would say it's not really only special to Gifu, but probably special to Japan, which is so every town in Japan has a special mascot or the character that represents what's famous in the area.
Okay, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. For example, Hikone has Hikone, which is a cat whose model is the one who is said to have saved the feudal lord who ruled the Hikone domain. And this
Okay.
cat wears a red helmet because that's the symbol color of this feudal lord E family. And
Okay.
Gifu also has a mascot called Minamo, which represents clean water resources in Gifu Prefecture. These
And what
mascots,
type of animal is the mascot in Gifu?
Minamo is not the animal; it's a kind of a human.
It's a human. Okay, got it. I had no idea. And if you had to summarize this region of Japan, the Gifu prefecture, and bringing in Hikone also, what 3 words would you use to summarize this area?
Convenient, sustainable,
Okay.
samurai history and castles.
You're cheating a little bit there, but I appreciate the effort. Our guest again has been Miyuki Seguchi from Japan Experts Podcast, where we can send people to if you know how to find podcasts, because you got to hear it, but also from MiyukiSeguchi.com. And Miyuki, if you wanted to send people to your website, what's the best resource we should send them to help plan their trip for this region?
Yes, thank you. So my website is Miyuki Seguchi, my full name. That's MiyukiSeguchi.com.
Put a link to that in the show notes so that people don't have to write it down.
Thank you. So I do provide travel planning services as well as private tours in the central regions. That includes all the places we discussed today. So to help international travelers know more about Japan and will better plan their trip to Japan, I'm hosting the podcast called Japan Experts Podcast and its related Facebook group, Japan Experts Community for Travelers. So
Okay.
if anyone is interested in visiting Japan, please do check them out. Also, I'd love to offer my free Japan travel guide, The 7 Steps to Creating Unique Immersive Experiences. So that's totally free and available from my website. So
And I'll put a link to the travel guide also in the show notes so that people won't have to search for it.
thank you so much.
Miyuki, thank you so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your obvious love for your home region of Gifu.
Yeah, it's great pleasure. It's been so much fun. Thank you so much.
A special thanks to the patrons of the show who help support Amateur Traveler financially. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a patron of the show or are ready to commit to that, go to patreon.com/amateurtraveler. I've got a trip coming up to Belize and Guatemala, so there'll be one episode that's going to be a repeat episode coming up here in the next couple weeks, just so you know. But we have some other interesting episodes ready for you, including Azerbaijan, Svalbard, Nepal, and then some other ones I'm recording this week. Don't miss any. Make sure that you're subscribed to Amateur Traveler to get all the episodes. And again, there's still space on the trip next year for the second trip to Morocco, the one I'll be on part of. If you're interested in doing that, go to amateurtraveler.com/trips to learn more. And with that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to host@amateurtraveler.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And thanks so much for listening.